Okay, Zoom took a little bit to start, so we'll start again. Welcome into Betting the Pitch. I'm your host, the real_G Warner. We're going to go through the top 5 European soccer leagues and come up with a best bet for each of those. We'll sum them all together, end of show, come up with a ultimate best bet. I'm still waiting to advertise or brand that one. Stay tuned there. But before we get into anything, I just wanted to give you an update that all lines quoted on this podcast are courtesy of betonline.ag. It's my favorite place to get my bets down early. And with reduced juice offered on almost every game you want to bet right up until game time, you can save yourself some money and increase your ROI. Please use the promo code found below in the podcast description to fund your account, and we'll both get a bonus from BetOnline. And so without further ado, we'll jump into the English Premier League because that's where the money is. And we'll start with Leicester hosting Manchester City. Leicester with a major uptick in form of late. Man City with a pretty disappointing goalless draw, and Erling Haaland picking up a knock, as it looked like on the Fantasy Premier League website. So that's a concern because he's been so oft injured in his career, despite being so young. But Leicester currently a 1 3/4 goal underdog at home, a monstrous number, but not one that I'm looking to get in the way of. Despite Leicester's recent upturn, they can score goals, it seems. They can't really defend. It's been better lately because they've been playing the bottom of the league, which was them. And I think they're kind of jumping off that spot. Man City are the class of the Premier League, and I'm not looking to get in the way of them with bad defense like Leicester. Move next in Saturday morning, Bournemouth hosting Tottenham. Bournemouth coming off a ridiculous, the officiating in that Monday match was atrocious, and I would have been sent off in the first half, guaranteed. Was really surprised that Bournemouth's manager didn't get a yellow card after the final whistle. But that's really what it takes for West Ham to score 2 goals. Are a penalty, which was deserved at the end in the 91st minute or so when it was converted, and a ridiculous handball that was somehow blind to all of VAR. When VAR tries to officiate every other part of the match, they decide to let goals go when a guy is volleyball setting Thilo Kehrer is volleyball setting a ball onto the head of a teammate in the 6-yard box. Atrocious, and it's why the sport makes me want to pull my hair out, but I'm also trying to keep it on my head. Anyway, Bournemouth a 3/4 goal underdog to Tottenham right now. I don't think that's high enough for me just yet. I think I want to see that +1, and I think we'll get there. And then I'll like it a lot because Tottenham aren't really a team that want to have the ball. And I think to cover and win by multiple goals in a match, you need to have a lot of the ball to do that. I'm not seeing them as a team that ever really is going to change until Antonio Conte finally goes back to Inter or whatever. But that's not happening here this weekend. So I lean to Bournemouth, but at the 3/4, I need a little bit more. Brentford then hosts Wolves. Currently, Brentford a 1/4 goal favorite, and they're about as Jekyll and Hyde as almost anyone this year, I feel like. Wolves, on the other hand, we know exactly who they are. It's a team that can't really score goals. So that's going to be really hard to back them as a 1/4 goal underdog on the road because you really need a win to win a full unit. And I don't really see how they're going to do that. Certainly you got the penalties, ridiculous VAR decisions, all those sort of things can contribute to offense. But I think Brentford are more likely to score. So it almost feels like that 1/4 goal favorite at home is a little bit cheap to me. So I will not be getting involved with Wolves there. Crystal Palace then hosts Southampton. Crystal Palace a 1/2 goal favorite. And I feel like Crystal Palace just looking like a team you can't really do anything with on the road because they're so bad at scoring goals. But at home, the crowd buoys them. Easy for me to say. They get some sort of inspiration, energy from their crowd, which makes sense because they're probably the loudest. Maybe they put the microphones in the right places in that stadium, but I think they're one of the most fun crowds in all of European soccer. And if I'm going to England for a match, Crystal Palace is on my list to go to, like, top of the list, besides the Etihad and potentially the Emirates. And there are a lot of great choices, but under the radar, sneaky, low key choice, I think, is Crystal Palace. As for this matchup, I'm trying to look the other way from Southampton getting a 1/2 goal because I think it's bigger than the Crystal Palace offense really deserves. I think based on who they are, they should be a 1/4 goal favorite maximum at home unless they're playing the real bottom of the league. But the higher I would get, the more interested I am in playing that bottom side. That said, neither of these two teams are really that impressive. Crystal Palace should be a really good home team, as they always are. Maybe I lean under 2.25 is more interesting to me than Southampton getting a 1/2 goal. because there's not a lot of safety in that number. If it ends 1-1, Southampton covers and the under also covers. So that interests me a little bit. Southampton, I mean, they're not a great road team. So it's like good home team, bad road team, but neither of them look like they're a team that can score a lot of goals. So I guess under 2.25 is where I lean strongest on that one. Newcastle then hosts Aston Villa. Currently Newcastle a half a goal favorite with all the juice. And this is Unai Emery's, I think he's technically in charge, but he's not on the sideline for this matchup, which is weird. I mean, if you're going to pay him $6 million, you might as well install him as soon as possible. But so maybe you see a new manager bounce for Aston Villa, just looking over their shoulders into the crowd. But I don't really believe in that. I don't think it matters. It's ultimately the one thing that a new manager can do is kind of relieve the pressure that's on. Maybe Aston Villa were feeling a lot of it. I think that was mostly on Steven Gerrard. They had a good response last weekend, but I don't know that that's something you can really take going forward. Newcastle, on the other hand, I still don't really believe they're a great goal scoring team. I think defensively, they're going to be very likely to keep Aston Villa quiet. So maybe that under 2.5 looks better with two teams that I don't really see scoring much. I do think the Newcastle crowd is awesome and they're going to really help the team, but similar story to Crystal Palace, probably two of the most underrated crowds in England. But I think under 2.5 is more interesting to me. Brighton then hosts Chelsea. Brighton currently moving to a quarter goal underdog after being pretty strong at Pick'em for most of this week, which has been surprising to me. Chelsea haven't looked great offensively, certainly is a problem for them, but they're better offense than Brighton. Graham Potter against his old club will certainly know where to find the gaps. And Roberto De Zerbi, I mean, maybe this is a time he pulls out all the stops and goes really, really offensive with his strategy. I don't think that will work against Chelsea, so maybe he won't. But he's just sitting there like twiddling his fingers, like being like, it's time to go, time to unleash Frankenstein. But Brighton currently at the quarter goal underdog. Very juiced at the moment, all of it on the Brighton side. I just don't know that I really trust them at all to score goals, especially not against Chelsea. Chelsea certainly has some weaknesses on the road and had the midweek match, of course, in Salzburg. But ultimately, I think even a trip to Austria won't make them too limited. And I think that Chelsea are a better side, and only giving a quarter, I don't think that's enough for me on Brighton. Next, we'll go Fulham hosting Everton. Currently, Fulham a quarter goal favorite. And I feel like I've been backing them a lot lately, and they've been even more wide open than we expected coming into the year with a new manager. We thought maybe they might even try to be a little bit more conservative or pragmatic. They've not been all season, and I feel like they've only been more open, as I just said. And I don't know that's a good thing. I guess in this case, maybe against Everton, it's not going to punish you too badly because Everton aren't really much of an offense to speak of. I think Everton are going to play really defensive football, which makes that quarter of a goal a little bit interesting. But I guess now that I talk it out, and part of why I do this for all you, but also a little bit for me selfishly, is to try to like explain more than what I would be doing in a tweet to myself about what I'm playing. So I like Everton because they're going to probably have a lot of open pitch. I just don't know that they can take advantage of it. So I probably skip this one. I don't know that I have really a feeling on that under 2.5. Next, we have Liverpool Leeds, the nightcap on Saturday. Liverpool a 1.75 goal favorite. Still just getting monstrous numbers despite a team that looks old or injured or both. I don't know that thrashing Ajax in Champions League will even do anything I haven't watched that one yet, but like I'm not sure anything that Liverpool does will change will change my opinion of them at this point. Having to win by 2 goals just to take half a unit for me is asking a lot. I mean, Leeds have been really struggling. And Jesse Marsh, I mean, he had a great run to keep them up last season, but I'm wondering if that is I don't know if the strategy of all out attack or all out pressure under Bielsa certainly didn't work. It's a little bit watered down here with Jesse Marsh, but I'm not really sure that's working. Maybe that speaks to this line because they're going to give Liverpool a lot of space, which is not something you want to do because Liverpool have basically been unable to block to break down a block so far this season. So there's a lot of concerns on the lead side backing them here, but it's one of those cases where Liverpool don't deserve to lay this number. And if this one hits 2, it's going to be really hard for me to keep it off my card. Moving to Sunday, we have Arsenal hosting Nottingham Forest. Arsenal a 2-goal favorite coming off a PSV match in Europa League. I mean, that might zap some legs a little bit. Nottingham Forest are playing a little bit better, more defensively lately. And Arsenal ultimately they continue to play the softest schedule possible. I mean, it's unbelievable how easy their schedule has been so far. Which makes me want to look towards Man City odds to win the Premier League if they continue to trail. But those odds don't really seem to be adjusting too much. I like Nottingham Forest getting that second goal of insurance here. I think that they're under Steve Cooper. They've basically decided they have to play really defensively, which they probably should have been doing the whole time. And I would expect that they had that in them and probably knew that from the beginning. But I got driven home by some blowout losses. Arsenal's certainly going to put them under pressure. I just don't really believe in Arsenal. They've had a great start to the year, a lot thanks to a very weak schedule. And so Nottingham Forest, I like +2. Last but not least, Manchester United, a 3/4 goal favorite to West Ham. And I don't really like West Ham. I feel like they're playing Europa League, same as Manchester United. And I think that Manchester United are stronger and have more depth, finances, all those sort of things. They've got some questions about their managing and things like that, but I feel like those are going by the wayside a little bit. Ten Hag is starting to make a difference, it seems to me, on the team. I think I need a full goal of insurance to back West Ham, though they're a really good underdog. To me, not a good favorite, but a good underdog. And at +1, I'd be a lot more interested. So for a best bet for England, skipping Leicester, I do like Bournemouth, but not to the +1 just yet. No thanks on Wolves. I like that Southampton under 2.25. I think the under 2.5 in Aston Villa as well. Brighton are not good enough to me. Don't like Everton now after talking it through. Leeds getting 1.75. I just don't really like enough their style. Nottingham Forest, I do like the +2. I'm not sure if that number gets bigger by the time we get kickoff, but I also have a little bit fear about going to the Emirates and fading Arsenal, and West Ham aren't getting enough. So I'm going to go under 2.5 in the Newcastle Aston Villa match is my best bet for England. And now we're going to move to Spanish La Liga, where we do have a Friday match. It's Mallorca hosting Espanyol. Mallorca have been playing well lately, turned around a deficit to win at Valencia last weekend, and they seem to be they have an offense when Vedad Marici is in the lineup. When they don't have him, they have big problems. And ultimately, it kind of brings in Kang-in Lee as well to play well and to be someone who can create problems. He had a great goal to win that match, game winner last weekend. Mallorca currently a 1/4 goal favorite to Espanyol. And with all that said, Mallorca offensively, they don't really have an offense. They sit back in a 4-5-1 and play about as slow of a game as possible and try to beat you up and prevent you from getting in there. It's worked really well to essentially keep them up last season. I mean, it did. Javier Aguirre, the Mexican, has really not varied or moved off that strategy. So I expect them to play a defensive game here. And Espanyol have played a little bit better as they've kind of got a little bit more used to playing with each other. Jose Lu was bailing them out like 100% him earlier in the season. I still think that's a situation where you have two strikers in this matchup that are their goal scoring threats that are going to be relied on heavily to win this match. And I don't see a lot of goals here. Over under is 2. Might see a little more value in under 2 rather than backing Espanyol. But I lean to both Espanyol and that under. Moving to Saturday, Almeria hosts Celta de Vigo. Currently, Almeria a 1/4 goal underdog at home. Celta haven't been playing great lately. They've been trying, of course, but they ultimately are going to possess the ball, and they're going to probably put Almeria on their back foot the whole matchup, which you do like as a favorite. But going on the road and having to win the match is asking something for a team that's not been playing very well. Celta have some defensive issues. They always have. I think it's just a budget issue. Iago Aspas is looking more like a 36-year-old or 35-year-old than he should be on that World Cup squad, I think. But Spain just doesn't like to score goals, so why take him? They'd rather take a 22-year-old that's going to mess everything up in Ferran Torres. But lean to Almeria getting that 1/4 right now. And then we'll move on to Cadiz hosting Atletico Madrid. Currently, Cadiz a 1-goal underdog at home with all the juice. This is climbed from 3/4 early in the week. Atleti, they had a good win at Real Betis last weekend, but they could have been behind if Borja Iglesias had kept his run, and then ultimately barely survived the victory after a header from inside the 6-yard box hit the post or hit the crossbar. I think going on the road and expecting them to win by more than a goal is a fool's errand at this point, but backing Cadiz is really hard because they don't really score goals and they don't really have the ball. Sergio Gonzalez, it's amazing to me that he's still, unless he's been sacked, it's amazing to me that as of last I watched, he's still hanging out there because it's been brutal. But I think he's a good manager, and he's gonna put Cadiz in a good position to try to be as defensive as possible and try to hang tight. I just don't know if Cadiz are even worth backing at this point, that the +1 is a minimum for me right now. Sevilla then hosts Rayo Vallecano. Sevilla had Champions League midweek, still trying to emerge from the shell of the team they were last year under the new manager, Sampaoli. They're going to be more aggressive, but I think that's going to lead them to fall into the Rayo Vallecano traps. Rayo want to go on the road and counterattack you to death. They're not a very good team, but they do have the little pests that can run really fast, come out of defensive position, try to slot something in, either a pass down the middle or take an outside the box shot. Low XG there, of course, but ultimately as a half a goal underdog on the road, it's not the worst thing. I do think they can go in and get a draw at Sevilla. I don't think I don't think any Sevilla crowd really in La Norvion is as scary as it used to be, because they don't have the players anymore. So Rayo getting a half of a goal, I do like a lot. Valencia then hosts Barcelona. Valencia getting a full goal at home at La Mestalla. The problem is Valencia, I mean, they've been playing a lot better as of late. Edinson Cavani has completely changed that team when they have a striker up front. Barcelona, on the other hand, I mean, the crashing out of the world of the Euro, of the UEFA Champions League, that's what it's called. That's been tough, but they've been playing so well domestically and then really screwing up on the international or European stage. I wonder if that's because of pressure or really randomness. I'm not sure exactly what's been so different, because they've been slicing up teams defense, and even to me, pretty good defensive La Liga teams like sides like Athletic Club and also Villarreal. Maybe because those teams don't have great attacks, it hasn't been that big of a concern. Valencia don't have as good of a defense and really don't have as good of attack, despite what Edinson Cavani's been doing as of late. I think it's probably a number that I let go, though I do lean to that +1 at home. Moving to Sunday, Osasuna hosts Valladolid. Osasuna a half a goal favorite. And I got to say, Valladolid, they're a favorite of mine for a lot of seasons, really. It was sad that they got relegated 2 seasons ago, but came right back up. And they're on a hot run of form. They blasted Celta de Vigo. They beat Real Sociedad pretty handily, though there was a lot of VAR decisions in that matchup. I think from where I sit with this one, Osasuna are a better offense than they have been in the past, but that's because it's been non-existent. I do think that they'll have a pretty good crowd in Pamplona for this one, so that's a concern. But Valladolid, they know what they are. They're a team that's going to have to defend, have to counter, and I really like that. Essentially, I mean, I just like it in general. I'll just put it that way. And I trust them a lot. I think they play a brand of football that I think is really important as an underdog. And half of a goal, I mean, it feels a little bit short on a recently promoted side against a team that started the year off so well in La Liga. But I think that was because Osasuna had like the weakest schedule in the world and opened up with 2 home games. So I like Valladolid getting that half. Next, we have Real Madrid hosting Girona. Currently, Real a 2-goal favorite. Real Madrid, that is, and that's a big number. But I don't know if that's a big enough number for me. Unfortunately, Girona, they're getting Real Madrid off a loss to Leipzig midweek. Probably not going to see Karim Benzema in this one, I would think, because they're probably going to save him, as they don't really need him. But I mean, I guess the offense does change quite considerably without Karim Benzema in there, but I don't even know if Girona going to the Bernabeu where things get really ugly. I just don't think that's for me. Athletic Club then hosts Villarreal, and what was looking like 2 teams that were killing it to start the year. Villarreal have trailed off and have lost their manager. Not great. Especially not great because I have them to finish in the Champions League position, and they have not had any offense to speak of ever since Gerard Moreno got hurt. Crazy game last weekend. With a ridiculous second yellow because the La Liga refs just have to insert themselves in the matchup. I feel like they want to be, I mean, it's pretty clear to me that they want to be the main character in all soccer matches, even though they probably can't even kick the ball. Athletic Club, on the other hand, got eviscerated by Barcelona, which really kind of put them down, going the wrong direction ultimately. And from where I sit with this one, I mean, I like Villarreal getting a quarter because I feel like they have the defense to really bother and kind of restrict Athletic Club. And Athletic Club are an offense that I haven't really trusted for years now. They've been a good counterattacking defensive-minded side, and it's a little bit weird for them to play as a favorite. I feel like there's a lot of respect in this number for Villarreal, though, and I feel like I need a bigger one in order for me to play. I think at a half of a goal, I would become more and more interested in Villarreal, though the Alex Baena suspension is a pretty big deal because he's been kind of out of nowhere huge for them offensively. I I think at a quarter is not enough for me there. I do like under 2.5 though, if I had to pick a side right now, or pick a total, I guess, in that case. Real Sociedad then hosts Real Betis. Currently, Sociedad a half a goal favorite at home with all the juice on Betis on the road. Both of these teams played in Europe. I have questions about the Real Sociedad offense. I guess I have more questions about the Real Betis defense. I'd like both managers. I mean, there's the two teams that it seem pretty similar to me, but one is going to win a full bet with a draw on the road. Certainly saying something. Real Betis had some good success against Sociedad last year, if I remember correctly. I think they had a dominant Copa del Rey victory on the road at Sociedad. I need to look a little bit back further into this rivalry and the history between these two teams most recently. But Real Betis, I feel like getting half of a goal is too high. They certainly have all the juice right now, so maybe that falls down to quarter. And I think at a quarter, that's saying that essentially Real Sociedad is at home, and that's why they're favored. I think I would agree with that one. So maybe a quarter is not enough, but I like the half currently, and we'll see if the juice improves. Last but not least, in Spanish La Liga, we have Elche hosting Getafe. Currently, Elche at Pick'em, which you don't see that too often, but it's because they're at home. They have more of the juice right now. I'm looking to be against Elche at any chance I can. I think that they are just a bad team in general, and I would pick them to be as one of the three going down to La Segunda División. But for right now, Getafe are not yet in a play range for me because they're not getting a quarter. So best bet for Spain. I'm going to go with, I'm interested in Espanyol getting that quarter, also the under. I like Almeria slightly at home, but I think I need to think about that more. Cadiz not enough for me to play today. I do like Rayo Vallecano getting that half at Sevilla. Valencia probably not enough +1. I like Valladolid, but I'm a little bit less interested because of their road game. Girona, no thank you. Villarreal at a half, maybe. I do like under 2.5 there. Real Betis, I like the half as we speak. I'm going to go with, I'm going to fade Sevilla. I'm going to go Rayo Vallecano +1/2 on the road at Sevilla. That would be my best bet for the Spanish La Liga. Now we move to Italian Serie A, and we have a Saturday match in the morning. Napoli hosting Sassuolo. Currently, Napoli a 1 3/4 goal favorite. And they're just not a team I want to fade right now. They've been so good to start the year. And I just don't really have an interest in going against them. Sassuolo have always had a good offense, but defensively is where they can be punctured, and Napoli can certainly do that. Lecce then hosts Juventus. Currently, Lecce a half a goal underdog. And this is going to be a get all your emotions, frustrations out for Juve because they're going to the Europa League, it seems to me. That's going to be tough. Might not even go there. But ultimately, Lecce, I've been kind of riding them quite a bit lately. They've been taking some red cards, harsh ones at that, but they haven't really. I think I backed them their last 3 matches. I was very disappointed in their performance against Bologna last weekend. And now they get another team that's licking their wounds. It's probably pretty angry. I do like that half of a goal at home. I feel like it's almost a stronger line than Juve have been getting for a while. Juventus have a lot of problems. Clearly, health has been an issue for a lot of it, but they've known their roster for a long time and they haven't really been improving. So lean to the home dog when a draw wins a full bet. Inter Milan then hosts Sampdoria. Currently, Inter a 1 3/4 goal favorite. I don't think I can back Samp pretty much. I don't really know who I would back them against at all at this point, especially not Inter. It's off of a really good performance at home. They get to stay home again. It's not a great situation there. Empoli then hosts Atalanta, the early match on Sunday. Empoli a 3/4 goal underdog at home. All the juice on them. And I gotta say, I feel like Atalanta seems a little short to me here based on how Empoli got absolutely demolished by Juventus last Friday. Juve have not been crushing anybody. Empoli, I've talked about how their offense really kind of led them last year. That hasn't been the same this year. Their defense looked really scary to me against Juve as a backer last week. So against a better offensive team like Atalanta, that's going to be all out offense. That's even scarier to me. So I think I need to see a +1 at the minimum. And it doesn't look like that number's getting there. Spezia then half a goal underdog to Fiorentina. Plenty of flaws, problems with Fiorentina. I just don't think Spezia are good enough for me to go against them. Cremonese then hosts Udinese. Cremonese, a half a goal underdog at home. And they had a really good situation last week, let 3 points go. And I feel like they're in a really tough spot here because Udinese are a really good team under a really good manager. They've kind of they always had a defensive kind of mechanism to them, but kind of grew their offense last year and only improved this season with a new manager. I don't really want to go against them, even as a road favorite. I feel like Cremonese They need to prove to me that they are worth backing, and I don't think they've really done that so far. Lazio then hosts Salernitana, giving a full goal. Really surprising to see Lazio's defensive numbers probably skewed a little bit by their schedule, because I feel like they haven't really been playing the big boys so much. Though I think they did beat Inter at home earlier this season. Salernitana I like, but I worry that they're going to have trouble scoring against Lazio, and we know Lazio will score. So how does Salernitana cover? They're probably going to have to play really defensively and find a way on a counterattack, and I feel like that's a tough ask. As this climbs to 1.25, where the juice points it will head, that does interest me a little bit more. But for now, I am not touching that one. Last but not least, on Sunday, Torino hosting AC Milan. Currently, Torino only a quarter goal underdog at home. All the juice on Milan, and they certainly have a lot of Champions League stuff on their minds. Torino just not getting enough for me at this point. Line certainly points to Torino being a good bet. The market certainly favors them right now. Seeing them only a quarter goal underdog at home, but I don't know that's enough for me. Verona then hosts AS Roma. Currently, Verona a half a goal underdog at home. They've been getting no respect from the marketplace, and I think it's justified by how poorly they've been playing and where they sit in the table. Roma were certainly one of the favorites coming into the year based on what they've done in the transfer market, and I think always Jose Mourinho's clubs will get that kind of benefit of the doubt. I'm not sure they've been that great, but they are at I think the top 4 on the table right now, which would certainly be an improvement for them. Champions League football is something they badly want. I just don't know that Verona are a team you can back right now, because I think they've even gotten more from their offense than people expected, but still haven't been enough. Last but not least, Monza hosts Bologna. Currently, Monza a quarter goal favorite at home. I mean, Monza's been getting a lot of love from the marketplace. Did a lot of business after that. I think this is their first promotion to Serie A, I believe. Could be wrong on that. Don't quote me. But ultimately, they added a lot to their team. Took them a little while to gel, kind of in the mold of Espanyol, similar thing. Bringing a lot of new players doesn't go very well. Nottingham Forest, you could say the same thing in England. But Bologna, they've switched managers to try to get some offense out of the club. Sinisa Mihailovic, I mean, dealing with cancer also, I think it was kind of a tough situation. Arnautovic is still a terror. He's still really big, really bothersome, and that's not changing. And that makes me like Bologna, I got to say, getting that quarter. They looked really good against Lecce last week. I'm not trying to fall in love with the team that beat me when I bet against them, but Monza, I feel like they're getting a little bit too much respect for being a newly promoted and having to win against a team that's been in the league for a while. Certainly is not perfect, and it's been struggling a little bit, but a recent uptick in form of the new manager, I feel like Bologna is the side I like in that one. So a best bet for Serie A for this weekend, not doing Sassuolo. I like Lecce at home. Don't like Sampdoria. Don't like Empoli. Spezia, I mean, I guess I like it, but that would just be purely a fade of Fiorentina. And I'm trying to also, in my bets, want to bet the team I'm actually backing, not just fading the team that they're going against. Cremonese, I don't think they're getting enough from Udinese at home. Salernitana, I just don't want to fade Lazio. Torino's pretty short. Verona, I don't think are good enough this season. So it's down to Bologna, really. Bologna or Lecce. Those are my biggest interests. And I'll go Lecce. I mean, I've been backing them for a while now, so people should know that. But I think getting that half of a goal at home from a team like Juve, who are going to be licking their wounds, might come out angry, but ultimately that might lead to a little bit more intensity in the tackles, and that could get some yellow cards or red cards pretty soon. I like Lecce getting a half of a goal in Serie A. Now we move to the German Bundesliga. We have a match on Friday, and that is Werder Bremen hosting Hertha Berlin. Currently, Werder a quarter goal favorite right now with all the juice. So this one's probably climbing to a half before this kicks off. I do like Hertha quite a bit. I mean, they finally got a win at home against Schalke last weekend. Their like president, former ultra, was like crying in the crowd. Pretty soft, but Europe's a little bit different than America. I'll put it that way. And I guess passion is passion, you know. Got to support it, got to love it. And I love Hertha. I got to say, they've been playing so like tough this year, and I'm playing so well. Things haven't been going great for them, but I feel like they are the side I want in this one. Werder Bremen got off to a great start, a lot to this Bundesliga season as a newly promoted. A lot of it has been due to late goals. I don't think you can really trust that. I'm not sure Niklas Füllkrug can stay this hot for as long as he's been. There's been a little bit of behavior stuff with Dusch, the second striker. So, or Dusch, I don't know. There's questions for me a little bit about Werder Bremen at this point. Took an early red card against Freiburg and lost because of it, really. Feel like they're a little bit teeter-tottering on a team that might start looking like they're going to have a little more trouble in the Bundesliga. And Hertha, they've been fighting their ass off. Sorry, kids, I usually don't swear on this podcast, but they've been fighting tooth and nail. I think they're going to miss Luca Bacchio in this matchup, which is a big deal. That's a concern. I want to see that lineup. But Hertha's the way I lean on Friday. Today, match is starting in a couple hours here in the US. Moving to Saturday, Bayern Munchen hosting Mainz off a big win at Barcelona. But that's not that big of a win because they dominate that club. Bayern, a 1 3/4 goal favorite with all the juice. Mainz, they've been getting a lot of respect from the marketplace all season. It's been reflected in kind of where they sit in the table. They're trying to get Jonathan Burkhardt, the German under 21, healthy. I don't think he's in play for the World Cup, especially because he hasn't really been playing much this season, but is certainly a future offensive player that they really need in the German Die Mannschaft national team. I'm very looking forward to this one hitting +2. I mean, fading Bayern Munich is so tough, but having to play at Barca, closing as an underdog, which is, I mean, I basically back them every time they're an underdog, and I feel like I don't back Bayern often because they're always a favorite every match they play. But when they are an underdog, whether it's against PSG or against Barcelona, I mean, that is a bet that almost needs to be made. With that said, they're going to go back to Bavaria. They're going to have a big crowd where they score a ton of goals. That's going to work for them. But at +2, I'm more interested in Mainz. We'll see if it gets there. I think it will. Leipzig then host Bayer Leverkusen. Leipzig coming off that big Real Madrid win, which they needed to have any hope to move through in the Champions League. And now I think they're in a good position to move through as the second finisher in Champions League group behind Real Madrid. Currently Leipzig a 3/4 goal favorite to Leverkusen. I think that speaks to how poorly Leverkusen have been this season. Xavi Alonso came in and they started getting a little bit too much respect, but that kind of has changed. They're basically getting rated as, I mean, let's see, Leipzig were a goal favorite at Augsburg last weekend. So that probably translates to a goal and a quarter, goal and a half. So it's not that bad. It's not that grim, but certainly Leipzig got a lot of respect closing a favorite to Real Madrid midweek. That's saying something, though Real Madrid certainly were missing a lot of their important players, but ultimately had a better lineup than I think that line suggested, and is part of why I lost that bet. But Leverkusen getting 3/4 of a goal. They're going to Leipzig, where Leipzig play well. They score a lot more goals at home. Leverkusen's offense has always been questionable. I mean, Patrick Schick just is either on fire or doing nothing is basically how it goes. Maybe injuries are a concern this season, but I can't really put my finger on what the problem is. And Leverkusen's offense just really hasn't been firing. Their defense is really at risk for its offense. Till I see Florian Wirtz, I feel like I'm not changing my opinion on Leverkusen. I'm probably skipping it, even though these teams are starting the year. This line would have seemed crazy. It would have been probably a half at best, probably a quarter, based on the opinion of these two sides. Stuttgart then hosts Augsburg. Currently Stuttgart a 3/4 goal favorite now. This has climbed from a half earlier in the week. Stuttgart have been better under the new manager, but they've also been playing against, I mean, Bochum got them in that first huge win, and they got smacked by Borussia Dortmund on the road. So I might even take that back. I'm not even sure they've been that great. I mean, they had a good cup win, I guess, but that's Pokal against a lower league team. They had a good draw there and didn't get a Bundesliga side. So I don't know. 3/4 of a goal seems monstrous. Augsburg, I mean, they've got plenty of problems, but their defense, they were missing two of their most important players for a match. I mean, they had a really tough collapse in their last one against Leipzig with their best defenders available. That was unfortunate, but they got a draw. It wasn't getting nothing from that match despite having a 3-0 lead. And I think that will almost clue them in, lock them in a lot tighter into this one, and really try to restrict Stuttgart, who, I mean, have Silas Wangatuka. I guess that's his old name because he was under a false birth certificate. So Silas, he's great, but he's like a wing and he has so much pace, but kind of an Iñaki Williams effect, doesn't have a lot of scoring touch. Augsburg getting 3/4 of a goal is just way too high. That Stuttgart have to beat me by more than one to take my full unit. It's going to be really hard for me to resist that. Wolfsburg then hosting Bochum. Currently Wolfsburg a 3/4 goal favorite with most of the juice. Bochum are a team that you can look to back at home, I think, this year, but they are really stay away on the road, especially if you're not getting that full goal of insurance. Wolfsburg are not perfect. Niko Kovac, I'm not really sure his impact. I guess he's brought a little bit more offense, but he's sacrificed some defense for that. Also playing some center backs that are young and really look like they have no clue what they're doing at times. So I lean to Bochum if they get to that +1. I'm not that interested there. Under 2 3/4 does seem a lot more interesting because I'm not sure Bochum will end up finding the net. The big one on Saturday, Eintracht Frankfurt hosting Borussia Dortmund. Currently a pick 'em, but all the juice on Dortmund. I hope this climbs to a quarter goal favorite on the Dortmund side. I like Frankfurt better. I feel like they have a better offense this year than they did last year. Lindstrom has been incredible. Dortmund are just a road favorite that I want to go against. I think they are more talented offensively, but that doesn't do everything, especially on the road where things don't really click. Anthony Modeste seems to be a panic ad to fill in for Erling Haaland, and he doesn't really do much in their offense. I'm just not really that afraid of the Dortmund offense, and I'm certainly looking to fade that Borussia Dortmund defense. It's improved, but it really hasn't gotten that much better. And coming off a Man City match where they had to really, really work hard for a goalless draw at home, I feel like Frankfurt are in a great spot, and so I'm looking for them to climb to that quarter goal underdog. Union on Sunday then hosts Borussia Mönchengladbach. Bigger than I expected. Union a half a goal favorite, or bigger than it probably should have been based on the two teams and how they are talent wise. But Gladbach are really talented, but they're replacing their goalie Jan Sommer, who's been like a staple to that team. And new goalie came in and really didn't look great to me in that first matchup. Got smacked around by Frankfurt. Union as a half a goal favorite is a big number against a team of the pulse, though. So I lean to Gladbach there. And then two more matches ago, Schalke hosting Freiburg. Currently Schalke a half a goal underdog at home. And they're playing better than their results are, but they're so limited and they've got so much pressure now. New manager came in and is like basically vomiting with relief after they got an equalizer against Hertha, and then unfortunately conceded on the other end and went back to looking like a ghost. Essentially, it's Halloween time here in the US, but I don't think they celebrate that in Germany as seriously. But Schalke getting half a goal at home from Freiburg. Freiburg have been awesome in Europa League. They've been balancing the two competitions or three competitions well. I don't think they're a team I want to go against, and I follow them pretty closely. Last but not least, Köln hosting Hoffenheim. Currently, Köln now a quarter goal underdog at home. It's climbed from a pretty moderately or even split pick 'em to Hoffenheim being pretty highly juiced. Now Köln is a home dog. I lean to Köln because I feel like they have a huge crowd support, and that's going to lift their spirits, energy levels, all that sort of stuff. Hoffenheim has always been struggling on the road and a lot better at home. Maybe that's because their offense is so really dictates how they're going to perform. I do want to look into why Köln is moved to a quarter goal underdog though, and that makes me feel like there's been some injuries in that Europa League match or Europa Conference League match that I did not yet watch. So for our best bet for the Bundesliga, I do like Hertha Berlin getting that quarter a lot. I like Mainz, but I want them to hit that +2 number. Leverkusen's a skip. Augsburg, I really like just fading Stuttgart in general, and I think Augsburg have been quietly. I don't think it's their offense really. I think they just press higher up the pitch, and they under the new manager, I really like what they've done. Though I think his hairstyle is absolutely ridiculous, and someone needs to tell him to improve that. Bochum, then I think I like under 2 3/4 better than anything else in that one, even the +1 if it moves there. Frankfurt not yet at +1/4, else they'd probably be my best bet. Borussia Mönchengladbach, I do like getting a half. Very juiced right now though, and I still want to think more about kind of how they're going to move forward without Jan Sommer. Schalke don't like, and Köln I'm interested in, but I do need to do some additional research on that one. So my Bundesliga best bet will be Augsburg getting 3/4 of a goal on the road at Stuttgart. Last but not least, we're going to go through Ligue 1 in France, Farmers League to some, but then I'll recap my best bets from each of the countries and give a ultimate best bet to close out. We have Lens hosting Toulouse. Two really good teams, two aggressive teams. Lens a 1-goal favorite at home. All the juice on Toulouse on the road. I think it's just going to be a tough setup. I mean, I love backing Lens. I'm sad I didn't play them last weekend. I think they deserved a goalless draw and then got a deflection for a victory at Marseille. Just a big step. They continue to impress, surprise, do everything because there's not a lot of respect for them in the marketplace. Though here, giving a full goal seems a little bit more respectful, but Toulouse are great as well. They're just going to play very aggressively, and this is going to be a back and forth basketball match. And that makes me a little concerned. Over under of 3 is pretty high in Ligue 1, and I feel like that makes that +1 a little bit less valuable. Don't hate anyone taking that full goal of insurance on Toulouse. They're so talented, and Lens might have a little bit of a lull here after that big win, but I trust them, and I just don't know that I'm in a position where I want to go against Lens at home, because the Sangat Adol, the blood and gold, are going to be nuts in that crowd today. Should probably watch that one if you like soccer or just like seeing cool things in this world, in a burning planet that we live on. Moving to Saturday in Ligue 1, we have PSG hosting Troyes. PSG a 2 3/4 goal favorite, monstrous number, way bigger than I was expecting. And I feel like PSG is getting a little bit more respect from the marketplace. I don't think that's an injury thing. Maybe it's like a motivation thing. I'm not really sure, because they've been kind of quiet and playing pretty poorly and not getting a lot of respect for a while. But Troyes are not good enough. Strasbourg hosts Marseille. Only Strasbourg, a quarter goal underdog at home with all the juice. I lean that way. There are big problems with the Strasbourg side. Marseille, I mean, having to go for Champions League and really their form in Liga have dipped. I don't think it's really by prioritizing one or the other. It's kind of just one has gone well to start the year in Liga and wasn't going well in Champions League, and it kind of flipped. I do think it's going to be tough going to Strasbourg because they're going to have a big crowd. So I lean to the home underdog there for sure. Angers then hosts Ajaccio, a battle of newly promoted, and this is going to be huge since 4 teams go down in Ligue 1 this season with no playoff to redeem yourself. Both of these clubs are hanging at the bottom. Ajaccio are worse and are the I guess, quote unquote underdog on the road. It's pick them right now with all the juice on the home team. Angers. That feels a little short for me. I need Ajaccio to get a quarter to have any interest in that one. Brest hosts Reims. Currently, Brest a pick'em with a little bit more juice at home. Again, feels like it's a little bit disrespectful to Brest at home, though they certainly haven't deserved a ton of respect. Reims on their second manager have been playing better, but I need a quarter goal to do anything with that one. Nantes then hosts Clermont Foot. Currently, Nantes a half a goal favorite at home, which is pretty big. I mean, all the juice on Clermont Foot makes me think this one crashes back down to quarter before it kicks off. But Nantes really have not been impressive this season. They've been really struggling to balance 2 competitions. Haven't been doing well in the Europa League after winning the Coupe de France. They wouldn't have been in that position if they hadn't last season. And I think that's just something that I should learn a little bit more to go against those sides. Because if you're not finishing in a European place, but you're playing in Europe, there's probably some questions about how good you actually are. And sadly, I actually backed Nantes quite a bit because they were really good to me last year. And I thought they would be able to maintain status quo. But they've been pretty poor. So I like that half on Clermont at the moment. Monaco then hosts Angers. Currently, Monaco a 1 1/4 goal favorite with all the juice and likely climbing. They did have to play midweek on the road in Hungary against the Magyars of Ferencváros. But Angers are a team that I don't think I could back against one of the better teams in Europe, and Monaco certainly looked to be one of those. Rennes hosts Montpellier, currently a 1 1/2 goal favorite. Rennes are starting to look like the well-oiled machine they were in the past. Montpellier, they play so well, they play so close, and then always concede late, and it's brutal. I respect them quite a bit, but I just I don't think they're in a position I want to back them against a team that can score like Rennes. Though Rennes have been pulling some goals out late, winning the game on a late penalty against Angers on like a goal kick was pretty wild last week, but and it's going to be hard to cover the spread if that's what they're going to need to even win a match. But at home, I think they'll play better. Lorient then hosts Nice. Lorient, a pick'em with all the juice. And this is based on preseason expectations, this number. Nice have been really poor. Lorient have been, I think they're second in the table. Have been awesome in France. And I mean, just continue to go against the market. Market doesn't believe in them, doesn't trust them. It's like a buy low opportunity to go against them to go on them every week, because the numbers aren't reflecting their performance at all. But as a home favorite against a team with a bigger budget, though that did have to play in Europe midweek, I lean Lorient, if anything. I pick them, I like it, and we'll see. Maybe the market will continue to get Lorient wrong. And last but not least, Lyon hosting Lille. Lyon, a quarter goal favorite at home with all the juice. This was a half of a goal last night or maybe early in the week, jockeying back and forth between a quarter and a half. And I feel like Lille, I mean, they're in a dogfight of a match last time out against Monaco. Came back and scored a late winner to win 4-3. Had a goalkeeping mistake. I mean, when you allow 3 goals and win, it's pretty incredible match. Lyon, I feel like, got very fortunate with a late penalty to win last week. And I don't really believe in them. The had to bring in a new manager because things weren't going well. They're now kind of hovering towards European places, but I don't think they're one of those teams really. So I like Lille getting that quarter, though I would certainly prefer a half of a goal much more. Though I'm not really that worried about the Lyon fans, I got to say. So to sum up the French league, I do like Toulouse getting that full goal of insurance today. Don't know that they're that's enough for me right now. I like Strasbourg getting a quarter from Marseille. Nothing in the Ajaccio match just yet, or Reims. I do like Clermont Foot getting a half from Nantes. Angers, it's not good enough. Montpellier, not good enough. Lorient, not there yet. And I do like Lille getting that quarter, but I think we might get a half. So I don't want to make that my best bet just yet. I'm going to give Clermont Foot getting a half from Nantes as my best bet in the French Ligue 1. So Clermont Foot getting a half in France. Augsburg getting 3/4 of a goal from Stuttgart in the Bundesliga. In Italian Serie A, Lecce getting a half from Juventus. In the Spanish La Liga, Rayo Vallecano getting a half from Sevilla. And in the Premier League, because I was so long ago, probably approximately 45 minutes ago, the under 2.5 in Aston Villa, Newcastle hosts Aston Villa under 2.5 in that matchup. For my best bet, I'm going to go and stay in the Bundesliga. I'm going to go with Augsburg getting 3/4 of a goal from Stuttgart. I think that's the best matchup, as I don't believe in the Stuttgart offense. So that's 45 minutes. I hope you all enjoyed that one, and we'll stick around. Follow me on Twitter, _G Warner. Any questions, at me, slide in the DMs. Thanks for listening on Apple Podcasts. Rate, give 5 stars, leave a review. Same sort of story on Spotify. If you could subscribe to the YouTube channel, I can try to put a little bit more out on there. And that's about it. That's what I got for you. Looking forward to another podcast coming on Monday. Might see a little bit different of a facial hair situation. So stay tuned for that one. And we'll see you soon. Hit me up if you like this. Just send some love. We need more of that in this world. Have a good one and good luck.